how many football teams operate, and you can have a bonus point if you can name me the 3.
You've answered the question a bit there, haven't you?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Right, that's getting cut.
No, that's gotta go.
Kill me.
That's gonna be our intro.
Right.
My name is iRobot.
Jesus Christ.
I like Tom Brady.
Oh, of course he does.
Okay, good way to introduce the next episode of the Men in the Midlands Sports Podcast. Podcast number 3, if you will, in which we are going to discuss the show that was the Super Bowl.
Patriots.
You can't, seriously, surely you can't even take that as a victory. Yeah, that's not a victory, because it was such a terrible game. It was the punt bowl.
Yeah, that's my joke, George. Okay, calm down.
I'd actually say I've seen that multiple times across the internet. Don't think you're that original, hun.
Okay, but none of those times started from you, did they? So,
yeah, but not every time started from you. Oh, okay, I apologise to every single copyright owner of that phrase.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Accepted.
Well, all I can say is that 13 points to 3. It's funny that last week I mentioned what's the lowest scoring Super Bowl. Well, the answer's changed now. Super Bowl
quite a lot.
Super Bowl 7, 21 points.
From 21 points to 16.
Like, that is appalling.
It's not even close.
Like, that is appalling. And the most insulting part is the fact it was the Patriots' defense that held up. Like, going into the game, of the 4 main units on the field, the one we were so sure was going to be the worst was going to be the Patriots' defense.
We were very wrong, weren't we, about our score predictions? If we remember our score predictions...
sorry, what did I had...
I think I said 28-21 Rams.
Yeah, I had 35-30 Rams. Yeah, you were, just because you had the least points. And then the Patriots... Jacob had 40-34. Which is like...
At least you got the right winner, but...
You got the right winner at entirely the wrong end of the score limit.
I think it was a perfect example of Bill Belichick's genius, that game.
I think Sean McVay got entirely outcoached, which again was something that I went on about last week, and I got completely schooled on by Bill Belichick. Not for the first time, I'm sure, and it won't be the last either, but yeah, I think McVay just didn't have any answer. I mean, to be fair, Johnny Hecker, I think he should have won MVP. For the most exciting play of the game.
It was a good punt, that punt.
Yeah, Tony Romo getting unironically excited.
Although Ryan Allen had some good punts as well. You know, it was just good punting.
Jacob, you won the game. Please don't try and take that from Rams fans. Like, you won the game.
Did Hecker do one of the longest punt, or the longest punt in a Super Bowl ever?
Yep, 65 yards.
Crazy.
Which, yeah, I know. When that's the main statistic to take from a Super Bowl, though, that's when you know it's been terrible.
I honestly, genuinely think if the Rams had won, they would have given Hecker MVP.
Well, yeah, probably.
Unless like Goff or Woods or Cooks or someone did something miraculous on the winning drive.
I think we also have to say that Jared Goff, deer in the headlights much.
Oh my god.
He was just appalling, sadly.
Went back to his rookie year.
Yeah, he was just appalling. Like, the Stephon Gilmore interception, like as game winning as it was barely difficult.
To be fair, he did slip as he threw the ball, so it wasn't entirely...
Oh yeah, he was pressured, but the point is the interception was so easy.
No, but it wasn't because of the pressure. He literally his foot went from under him as he went to throw it.
Even better. So TB12 is now number 6.
That really sums up the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, isn't it? We'll move past that absolute travesty and hope next year's is better. Although I must say I felt that Super Bowl...
It can't be worse.
Well, true. I did feel that Super Bowl kind of summed up this season, which I just think has really not been that good as a year, like for the NFL.
Compared to last year, no.
Yeah, last year's was much
better.
better.
Was pretty phenomenal.
Whereas this year has just been a bit poor.
Seasons, if you go back far enough, but in recent years...
Yeah. I have noticed, actually, that it seems to be 2 out of every 3 Super Bowls are fantastic, and then the other one's awful. Like, 51 and 52 were, good. like, well, better than good, to be fair, and then 53 was awful, and then 48, 49, 50. 48 was abysmal, 49 was brilliant, and then 50 was, like, quite good. Anyway, let's move on to the first question of this week's quiz, which concerns the MLB. Which is obviously on its off season at the moment, so I thought I'd go back in time a little bit with it to one of the all-time greats of the sport, Babe Ruth.
Very far back in time.
It is very far back, but he's also somebody that I actually know, so I thought I'd make the question concerning him. And the question is, how many 40 home run seasons does Babe Ruth have? He holds the current record, as you can probably imagine.
Well, he's got about 700 home runs, so I'm going to say like 12.
Okay.
I'm probably going to go even more than that. I think he was pretty good for a long time. I'm going to say something like 15.
Okay, well the answer was 11. So Jamie's gonna take the point on this occasion. Obviously, last week Jacob did win the quiz after a massive comeback in the last few questions.
All aboard the James train.
Is that good? Do we have to do a woo woo every time Jacob?
Yeah. Edit in like a choo choo noise every time I get a question.
Oh God! What a fantastic thing to have as like a gimmick for this.
Let's do it.
So he had 11 40 home run seasons. I actually don't know who he played the majority of his career with.
Come on, George. It's not like it's famous or anything.
It's not like I would care. It's like you asking me about. It's like you asking me about. I don't know, like about judo. I'm not going to know that either.
He played for the Red Sox.
Okay.
And then they traded him to the Yankees in one of like the most controversial trades ever.
Oh, I can see that. I get that.
Him being traded to Yankees was what sparked the whole like curse of the Red Sox not winning a title.
Yeah, and then they won last year, didn't they?
This year just gone.
This year just gone as well.
Well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Well,
it was a shocking MLB season as well. Let's be honest.
Is that because the Pirates did terribly?
Oh no, the Pirates somehow finished 82-79, which was like far better than anyone expected. But
I mean,
like, once again, we are not going to make the playoffs next year because of our owners' stinginess and lack of willingness to do anything in the off-season.
I love the salt that is now emanating from Jamie's microphone.
Right. Nutting. What a guy.
Is he better than Art Rooney?
No. Art Rooney's not bad. It's just the team he commands is bad.
Art Rooney going on like national TV to say Antonio Brown's not going to be playing for the Steelers next year. I think that really helped diffuse that situation. All right, well we'll move on from baseball now because I'm getting bored of it. And on to our first football question. Obviously, don't worry, we'll touch more on MLB when it becomes relevant, which will be in March, or in my estimation, never. But we'll move on to football now, and the question concerns the Champions League. Which obviously starts again this week in the knockout stage, and one of the games is Manchester United versus PSG. And I want to know which of those two clubs actually has more domestic honours. And it is quite close.
I'm going to go for Manchester United, purely because PSG don't have any honours from pre 1970, do they? So
I just looked at a number. I had a quick flick through the list, but
I was going to say Man United as well, but if Jacob said it, I'll go PSG.
The answer is Man United, but it's
you, Jacob.
39 versus 36, so it was actually quite close.
Not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what the breakdown in terms of league titles, cups?
No, and I didn't include things like the Community Shield because obviously they don't have an equivalent in France. So I just did it based on equivalency. So obviously Man U've got 20 Community Shields, but honestly, what does that matter? And then for the next question tomorrow, obviously a city close to my heart, quite literally and figuratively at the moment, is Norwich, who are playing in the East Anglian Derby.
That's a tasty game.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, and in 2008. A list of sports' greatest rivalries, and specifically, this was specifically the football category of football rivalries, listed the East Anglian Derby as the second fiercest rivalry in football. What was the first? What did it suggest the biggest rivalry was? And to be fair, I didn't realise how fierce the East Anglian Derby was until I got here. And I started sitting in the bar, and I went to the pub to watch the reverse fixture in September, and they literally had to split the fans up in the bar, like one end to the other.
Huge game.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, obviously last year there was the 1-1 draw where Ipswich scored in the 91st to think they'd win it, and they think they'd won it, and then Miroslav Klose. Jesus Christ! Could you imagine, Miroslav Klose off the bench comes on for Norwich City, scores the equaliser at Carrow Road. Anyway, Tim Klose scores the equaliser at Carrow Road to send the Norwich fans wild and pretty much cost Mick McCarthy his job. And then earlier this season was also a 1-1 draw, but that was an abysmal game. That was painful to watch. But yeah, anyway.
Just to be clear, what website was this ranking on?
All I can tell you is it was the football rivalries list from 2008. I will give it a quick check for you, just because I've got it up here. Football Rivalries Report 2008. So literally what I've said.
I'm going to let Jamie go first. Give him a chance
Okay.
on this one.
All right, Jacob. Jeez. No need to be cocky.
Cookie is my middle name.
I feel like I've seen this somewhere. I feel like it's like Cardiff and their rivalry with whoever they have the rivalry with, which I don't actually know.
Wow.
Jamie, I'm just going to say no.
Okay.
The Cardiff's rivalry with who would it be? Swansea, yeah? No, definitely not. So I'm going to let you have another crack at that.
Okay.
I mean, it's
a rivalry, but not fiercest.
I'd say it's a reasonable guess, but yeah, oh well.
I don't know. I feel like anything I say, you guys are going to laugh at instantly.
I mean, you do run that risk with us, to be fair. The men in the Midlands don't hold. Yeah, the men in the Midlands don't hold back.
I'm just going to say Spurs Arsenal then, even though I know it's wrong.
So the North London derby. Okay, Jacob, do you want to take a crack? Jacob, you just completely died on your arse there. That was
quite something.
Yeah, E.T. Phone Home, Wally, whatever you want to call it, like that was horrific. Do you want to try that again? Jacob, Jacob, you sound abysmal. Jacob's been possessed. Okay, so Jamie, you said that the fiercest football rivalry, before we had slight technical difficulties, was the North London derby. So Jacob, finally getting to ask you, which one do you think it was?
I'll talk you through a few that I think it could be. Obviously, the best rivalry in the country is the East Midlands.
Oh, here we go.
We all know that.
Here we go.
It's a top one.
I think the second City derby also a top one. Just saying.
That's a good one. It's a good one. I like the Sheffield one. I like the North East, and I like Burnley Blackburn.
That seems like a bit of a curveball compared to the others. I won't lie.
It's a fierce one. That one. It's a fierce one. But also, I reckon it could be a big one. I think it could be something like Man United Liverpool, or something like that. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with the North East, Newcastle Sunderland probably.
Geographically, Jamie was closer, but still neither of you were even close. It's the Black Country derby.
Really?
That was West Brom versus Wolves.
That's a big one actually.
So, which is obviously one straight on from the second City. So, I mean, I can see that. To be fair, having met a few Wolves fans and having met a few West Brom fans, I do see that. Teams like Villa and Birmingham and Walsall don't even register compared to the others. Like I always rate West Brom as like my second least favourite team from there, but to them Villa don't even matter because of Wolves. Well, they do, but like not as much. Only if we're playing them.
That's the same situation as Leicester hating Derby and Forest, despite the fact that Derby and Forest do not give a shit about Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester don't have a rival. Other than Cov, maybe, but that's not even a rivalry. That's just using them as a punching bag.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that for now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put Black Country in my top 10, but it's a good one.
Yeah, well, that was what was rated higher than the East Anglian derby. But any predictions on what you think will happen tomorrow? Because I can tell you what I think is going to happen. I think Paul Lambert's going to get spanked all the way back to Suffolk.
I think it's probably going to be something like 3 or 4-0 to Norwich. But
At the start of the season when they met, both teams were appalling. I think they were like 19th and 20th, like they were so awful. And then Ipswich just carried on being appalling, and Norwich then went on a run of like 10 games where they won. And obviously the big one against Derby, where the stadium light cut out, they come back on the pitch and then come from 3-2 down to win 4-3. The masters of the comeback.
That was hilarious. That game. That was absolutely hilarious.
I'm sure it wasn't as hilarious at the time for you, but well, you're not. Oh no, you're not in the playoffs anymore, are you? You're seventh.
No, because Bristol City well, there's 2 teams above us on the same number of points, I think.
Yeah, I think you're 2 points off. We're 6 points off because after that marvellous comeback against Sheffield United, 3-0 down to draw 3-3. Now I'm sorry, but that is impressive. Even though
I've seen
like
so many videos from the stadium of that last goal.
It's literally, it's the one taken from the crowd that gets me, where they're like, no. Stop! Don't give it! And then he screws up the pass and the ball goes across, and then the commentary's like, green! And in it goes, and I was like, yes!
I'm concerned we're 2 goal difference off the playoffs right
now. Oh, there you go, then fair enough.
Same points as Bristol City.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't think we're going to make the playoffs this year. I think you probably will, but I don't think you'll make the final.
I think we're going to lose again in the semi-final.
Yeah,
once again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Endless cycle.
Yeah, literally. And then Leicester are going to do this thing where they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right, well, we'll move off football now and move on to the NFL, even though it's slightly painful to talk about.
Patriots.
Please stop. I can't have that every time I mention the NFL. It's going to hurt. Okay, you've got your 6 rings. You got 6 rings on Tom Brady's 6 fingers. Now leave it. Okay? Right.
I was quite full of that.
Right. So my question to you is, obviously, last year, when we looked at this season going in, one of the main storylines was all the rookie quarterbacks. Because obviously it was such a quarterback-heavy draft, and a lot of the players that were drafted didn't become backups. They went in as starters. Players like Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield.
Josh
Obviously,
Rosen wasn't a starter, but
was he not? Oh, my bad. Well, Baker Mayfield, who obviously...
Bradford,
Oh, right, yeah, of course. And then Baker Mayfield, who obviously took over from Tyrod Taylor. I mean, they became starters this year.
I think it's pronounced Tyrod Taylor.
Okay.
I found out earlier this season.
What I'm saying is that these quarterbacks eventually got to start games in their first season, which is quite uncommon. Apart from maybe Mayfield, because he was the number 1 draft pick. But my question is, which rookie quarterback had the best winning percentage?
Now, in terms of rookie, are we saying...
First year. No,
it's got to be
year.
Lamar Jackson.
Oh, are we talking just from that season, yeah?
Well, yeah, because they're only a rookie for 1 season.
Okay. Now, for a second, I thought you meant best ever.
Oh, no, I see what you mean. No, fair enough. Yeah, no, just this season. Which rookie quarterback from the 2018-19 season had the best winning percentage?
Yeah, Jamie's probably right on that one, actually. I don't know, Darnold or something, but it's Lamar Jackson.
It is Lamar Jackson, yeah. I was kind of waiting to see how you were going to get around that, but no, fair enough. It was Lamar Jackson.
I would imagine Mayfield was probably second.
I don't know, but yeah, you're probably right. I mean, how many games did the Browns win this year? Was it 7? 7, yeah. But yeah, Jackson won every game he started apart from the playoff game.
Yeah.
So that is pretty good. Yeah, he won weeks 15, 16 and 17, and then obviously absolutely it in the wild card round against the Chargers, who then absolutely it in the divisional round against the Patriots.
I remember going into the draft, people were saying he was the one quarterback that the team shouldn't go for, but he's kind of dispelled the myths about him not being a good passer of the ball, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been better and he's improved on Flacco, definitely. The problem is it's his fumbles. He has this it's the fumble tendency that is ruining him. Although, he did give me the most beautiful moment of watching Jamie's face crumble in disappointment when the Ravens beat the... Although, to be fair, that was CJ Mosley. But at the same time, it was his leadership on that offense that crushed the Steelers' hopes of getting into the playoffs, which was utterly deserved.
But also, he fumbled. And the Browns should have returned it for a touchdown.
That's true.
Blew it dead.
Yeah, the refs blew it full stop this season. I think if we had I think we could have a whole conversation about the officiating from the NFL season this year, just on things like roughing the passer.
You cut out a bit there, George. That's fine.
I was saying the NFL season this year, the officiating has been pretty abysmal. Roughing the passer, pass interference calls. God knows, there's like holding calls that are just phantom, and it's kind of sad, because the idea of being a referee in any sport is that you ensure that the game is played correctly, not over you don't get too involved, and that's what they did. They got too involved. They made a lot of judgment calls where they were like, we've got to call that, and it just spoils the game.
Yeah,
we got to a point where defenders didn't want to touch the quarterback for fear of getting a 15-yard penalty. So, and that's just pathetic.
Can I just interject before we move on?
I mean,
just
go on then.
Typed Lamar Jackson's name into Google, and the top story trending is Lamar Jackson and Le'Veon Bell connect on social media.
Oh,
is it a future?
God, could you imagine if Bell went to the Ravens? That would be beautiful. I'd actually like, even though I hate them, like they're the one team that me and Jamie share a hatred of, to be fair. But also, that would be so funny.
I would love to see that.
I think,
see Jamie's face.
Yeah, I think like if the Ravens beat the Steelers in overtime in a regular season game at Heinz Field off a Le'Veon Bell rushing touchdown, I think that would just be sexy, quite frankly.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll move on to our next question in the NFL now, which does actually concern the Steelers, hence why I brought them up, because it leads straight on to them. Because I want to know... Yeah, I'll let you have your bitch in a second. Let me ask the question. How many divisional championships have the Pittsburgh Steelers won? And that includes the AFC Central and AFC North titles. Obviously, for anyone listening, the NFL realigned in the 1970s. And with the merger, and that's why we had the AFC Central before that, and then it moved into the AFC North, which is where the Bengals play.
Wasn't there a realignment in the 90s or something, or was that my mind?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking the merger was in the 70s, but then the realignment was in the 90s. My bad. Yeah, that's right.
So since the merger, there's been 50 years, about just under. So I'm going to say they've won the divisional title. I'm going to say like 20.
Okay. Go on then, Jamie. Your own team.
I'm going to go for 21.
Going to go for... Oh, he's playing the card. And the answer happens to be 23.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on. I was close.
To be fair, they are.
My next guess was going to be 25, which would have won it anyway.
Yeah, their own. I mean, they are his team, Jacob. You got to let him have that. You know, you've won the Super Bowl. They didn't make the playoffs. Take comfort in that.
Yeah,
I'll take comfort in the fact that we've hired somebody from the Rams. Yes, an actually good organisational move made by the Cincinnati Bengals has hell frozen over. That is the real question. Moving on to our next round, which is the statistical round. And I want to know, statistically, which team has the most FA Cup final appearances without winning an FA Cup final?
Oh, I did know this, but I can't remember.
I know this one.
Do you?
Oh.
I do.
Go on then.
Is it Leicester?
It is Leicester.
It is Leicester. I just wanted to rub that pain in a little bit. But yes, that they are. Do you know when their last one was, out of interest?
I think it was 69, but I'm not sure.
Right, so it was ages ago. Yeah. Although only 11 years before, or 12 years before, that was when we beat Manchester United to win the FA Cup final. Yeah, Leicester really not had much luck. And obviously knocked out again this year.
You're actually bragging to me about something your club did 40 years before any of us were
The
born.
only thing Villa have to their name is the 82 Champions League win. Like, literally, everything I say about Villa's success, I'm normally talking 30 years in the past, to be fair. Like, we haven't achieved anything since, apart from maybe a couple of League Cups and, like, a bit of Europa League football. So, yes, I am going to harp on that. It's all I've got. Sorry. So maybe I've got a bit too intense there, my bad. But yeah, Leicester obviously knocked out of the FA Cup again this year at the hands of Newport County, of all people.
Wow.
Derby are against Brighton, I believe, in the 5th round.
Yeah, I think it's a winnable game.
It's
I don't
winnable,
think-
yeah, I
but
agree
it's
with that.
possible. I mean, it depends what side they field. If they field like Glenn Murray and all their other sort of good players, then I don't think we'll win. But you never know.
You need another Richard Keogh penalty to seal it.
Oh yeah, penalty shootout.
That's what we want. I feel bad for goalkeepers going up against a penalty with Richard Keogh. Like, you know how they talk about giving the keeper the eyes, and it's Richard Keogh. Like, you'd be terrified. You think you get home and your family have been murdered. Like, that's the sort of look he's giving you. Right.
Oh my goodness.
And then obviously we got knocked out 3-0 at home, 3rd round, Swansea City, about as tame as it gets. But we did beat them both times in the league, which, to be honest, is probably means more at this point.
Who do we predict to win the FA Cup?
See, I kind of want to just say Tottenham for the banter, because I know they won't. Like, they would never win a trophy. So I'm going to back Tottenham.
It really hurts me, but I think Man U will do it.
Unless we get another Phil Jones masterclass in defending.
Phil Jones. I think probably Man City, probably.
Yeah, Man City. That's also a valid one. I mean, I think Man City have definitely dipped from last year. But they are still very much a force to be reckoned with.
Interesting statistic that I saw today.
Yeah.
Go on, then.
So far in this season, Manchester City have now scored 100 more goals than Huddersfield.
Good God. That is
before today. I think it was 113-13.
Right, well, Huddersfield scored 1 today in a home defeat to Arsenal, so as long as Man City score against Chelsea tomorrow, that statistic will be back. Talking of Leicester, and then talking of Tottenham, obviously that is the game tomorrow at Hart Lane, also known as Wembley, while they still try and get the stadium ready. So how do we predict that going?
Hopefully it'll be like last time and it'll be another 5-4, but just this time to Leicester.
I think it would be better if it was like that game a couple of years ago where it was 6-1. I think that would really go down a treat for me to watch. Well, I know. I know. Hey, I was at the game where we suffered our biggest home defeat in 80 years when we lost 6-0 to Liverpool. Get over it. Anyway, sorry to get...
I see us losing 2-1.
I mean, the thing is with Tottenham at the moment, I mean, all their injuries is the issue. Like, I mean, I don't know how Leicester's injury form is at the moment. I don't actually know how Leicester's form in general is. But I think based on the calibre of their attacking force, which is Llorente, like, I'd probably say you're in with a shout of at least a draw. I could probably see it.
Son's back, isn't he?
Oh, is he? I could probably see it being 1-1.
Son's gonna that ball into the net.
Please don't ever use that word on this podcast again. Good God.
I think we might have to bleep that.
Yeah, have some class, man. So now, moving on to the geography round. From level 6 upwards, which is the National League North and above, 3 teams operate in Derbyshire. You can have a point. You can have a point for each one you can name.
Derby
County.
Yep, so you both get that one.
Chesterfield.
Chesterfield, yep.
And I think the third one, is Alfreton.
It is Alfreton Town.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. So that actually brings the scores back to 5-4. Jacob's really taken a big hit out of that.
That's what it helps if I listen to BBC Radio Derby a lot of the time.
5-4 to
5-4 to you, Jamie, at the moment. With
I've said the curse.
You've said right. That is getting bleeped.
What do we think?
From now on, we bleep that word.
It's going to be great because anyone who listens, not that anyone listens, but anyone who listens is just going to be speculating what word it is.
Guess in the comments if you can tell what word it is that we're bleeping the whole way through.
Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And maybe When we hit 50,000 subscribers, we'll do a bleep reveal.
Jamie, you clickbaity bastard. Right.
What do we think about Chesterfield and how their fall from grace has, has happened?
Do you mind if I don't answer because I don't know?
No.
Do you mind if I don't take a lot of interest in the affairs of Chesterfield as a football club?
Right.
I don't take a lot of interest in the affairs of Chesterfield as a place. Our next question in the geography round, our final question in the geography round, because I only did 2. I want to know, have there been more Super Bowls played? It's an NFL question, I should say. Have there been more Super Bowls played than there are nations in Africa? According to the United Nations, and this one I do, that one I checked.
No, there are 55 in Africa and 53 Super Bowls.
You are both correct. However, the actual statistic I have is 54. There's two. Western Sahara and Somaliland are both contested on top of 54 of the nations. So I don't know if you added one of them into your statistic, but yeah, it's 53 less than 54. So yes, that is correct. Both of you take a point there to make the score 6-5. The question I had. Now for the wildcard round, our final round of this podcast, is why has horse racing been stopped in Great Britain at the moment? But of course...
because of the flu that's been going round.
Yes, it's because of the equine flu that you did bring up earlier, much to my annoyance, I have to say. But yes, it is the equine flu. But with that answer, Jacob actually draws the scores level, going into the very final question, which concerns darts.
No. Why's he always win?
It hurts more that you always take an early lead in football and NFL, and then Jacob just pulls it back at the end. It does look as though we will have Jacob going Patriots again,
Well, it
or
depends.
something.
If it's a really easy question, Jamie might get it, but if it's not, I assume I'll get the point.
So obviously, in the darts prem at the moment, there was Gary Anderson, and Jacob, you might have to correct me here, but he stepped down or something.
No, he has a back injury. At the
Right.
moment.
Okay. So that's right.
he's-
Yes, that's right. Gary Anderson, who's so basically he pulled out on a back injury, which means in the first night of the darts, they gave a hometown boy a go, and he played Mensur Suljevic. What was his name?
Chris Dorby.
It was in fact Chris Dobie.
Pretty easy one if you're a darts fan.
I hate it. This podcast. Fuck off. Everything.
Jamie's just gone absolutely triggered at that.
I do not deserve this.
Which means I'm afraid
To fill you in, what they've done is they've given 9 hopefuls, I think, in the first 9 rounds a chance. So one of them was Chris Dobie, John Henderson, Steve Lennon, Max Hopp, I think, Dimitri Van den Berg.
Okay, we don't need a list.
Jeffrey Swan and
Yes,
someone
okay.
Missed, I think. Well, there we go.
I mean, fair enough. Jamie, I am so sorry. I just wrote the questions out. I gave you a question about Leicester and a question about the Steelers. I'm not disadvantaging you. It's just unfortunately Jacob's coming up clutch when it matters. So
Can I just say, did you give Jacob the point for saying Leicester for the FA Cup question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, good.
So you still lost.
Despite the fact that I said it before you, Jamie.
What? Yeah, only because I heavily implied what it was and then went to answer it.
Yeah, to be fair, he did go oh, I know what it is, and then you were like, oh, it
I
must.
wonder what this is.
Yeah. So.
I think it's great that I won the quiz. Do you know who else won?
Oh, here we go. You're going to be on. Oh, he's unbearable. I can't deal with him. Jacob's. I'm just going to start bleeping everything Jacob says.
I've muted Jacob.
Jacob's now muted.
We'll no longer hear him.
Oh, guys, come on. 3 podcasts in. We can't have a fallout this bad already.
Well,
Don't worry. Next week. Oh, he's going to say it.
he's stealing my W's.
So, obviously, last week Jacob pulled out a 7-5 victory. This week Jacob pulls out a 7-6 victory. So maybe next week it'll be a draw, Jamie. Who knows? Maybe he'll be able to take it on a draw. I'll set up some really easy questions for you about how Leicester have been over the years to try and make it better. But I'm afraid for this podcast, Jacob will be declared the victor once more. I'm very sorry to everyone listening who already hates him. I'm sure it's a lot of you. And with that, is there anything we want to talk about? Any predictions we've got coming up this week?
Tonight is the start of the AAF.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. I've decided I'm going to be following the San Antonio Commanders.
Ooh,
they're the team I've decided to pick.
The best stadium of the lot.
The Alamo Dome, big up. Oh yes.
That stadium that was built to attract an NFL team and it just didn't. So.
Have you guys picked a team?
Of course. As I am, of course, a UCF fan when it comes to college football, I've decided to support the Orlando Apollos because they're playing out of their stadium. So.
Okay, Jamie, you got a team?
Nah, not yet. I'm just gonna have a look at it and see if it's any good before I get invested in it.
Try and pick the team with the most toxic roster to try and level it up with the NFL team you support as well, if possible. And then also tomorrow, Six Nations, we've got England versus France. How do we feel that's going to go?
Gotta have England winning it.
I mean, if France start passing tries to our backs like they were doing to Wales, then yeah, surely we will. I mean, that was I can't believe I even saw that happen in like an international game. But that was appalling play by the French forward. But there you go, it just happens. Sometimes it do be like that, I guess.
I've got to be honest, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, all right. Go back to your rugby league. We gave you a darts question, so leave it out. All right.
You gave me quite an easy darts question as well. I was
all right. Give it a rest, man. Next week, I'm literally just going to make impossible questions, like just to spite you. The final score next week will be a draw because it's going to be 0-0. Yeah, all right. Well, if that's all we've got to say, then I guess the Men in the Midlands sign off once more. Just saying, if anybody does happen to listen to this, please like, subscribe, share us about, and follow it.
And this podcast.
That's getting bleeped again, tell you what. And also, please follow us at Men in the Mids. We are on Twitter. Don't think we've got a Facebook page or anything set up yet, but
we've got a hot pornographic Instagram.
Honestly, I don't think anybody wants to see that.
We're bringing out a naked calendar next year.
Oh God! Right, okay. With that, we will leave it there.